Good morning, good evening, how are we all doing? Today we are going to talk about FlexTap. FlexTap was designed by Mr. AndrewMcGr, Andrew, and what it uses, it doesn't use a linear rail, nor are there any magnets. It uses flexures uh, built into the tap so that there's no real moving parts. It's makes it a little bit more solid, takes away some of the issues with, is your linear rail good enough? Are your magnets aligned? All that's kind of gone. And this is it. The GitHub will be included in the description. I'm using it right now. My test Trident VT 1190. It's 350. And it works pretty good. We're going to get into some resonance testing after I go over this, and then I'll show you guys how to build it. Fairly simple. Not a lot of parts. And yeah, it's pretty easy to go through. So we'll take a look at the general design here. Basically, it's printed in each one of these. So this white here is a full monolithic piece held together by these flexures. There's 6 of them, one on each side, and then here, and then down here. There's a green piece printed, this red piece printed, this black piece which ties them together in the back. That's printed, and then your X end stop if you're using it. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces to print. I think so. Oh, and then the 2 belt holders, so 7 pieces to print. Uh, Pretty quick print. Basically, it's going to look like this at the end, and this back piece is going to be held into your. This is the back piece. The back piece is going to be held into your X linear rail, and then the front piece here will move up and down, and this screw through the middle is going to be the one that connects, that hits the switch, and this is going to be your calibration here, where you're going to determine how long it's going to take to trigger, or how much trigger distance is by how far you screw this in. So this can be initially calibrated or set at your desk, and then when you put it on the printer, you just verify it, maybe a slight adjustment. This screw here is a stop screw. It prevents this from going too far up when it's doing it. So that'll be your stop screw. You'll basically set this and then screw this in so it just touches the plastic, and that's about it. So let's get into what does it look like. How does it compare, at least in the resonance section, to our standard tap? So I ran some tests in this. These aren't my final tests, but these are what I've shown. I was able to get it slightly better. So this uses the Zoll type of belt tensioning, not belt tension, but the belt securing method, where you're going to have one belt going over. In this case, it's not a tube; it's a screw, and then locking itself in, and then excess goes into here. For me, this was the hardest part to get used to, the hardest part to tension properly, because it took me a while to figure out how to get these belts the exact same length. Because basically, once it's tensioned in, or once the belts are locked into each other, you can't adjust it. So in your standard tap, you can just, there's a screw right here, you undo the screw, you can pull one belt a little lower till you get the belts exactly even, you screw it back in. Here, you've got to get it going from the beginning. So the only way to get this out is to untension it, or unscrew it and pull it out. And I'll show you that when we get to that section. But so belts, because you'll see the belts are basically even. So I got basically the same results from the plastic tap to the flex tap. This junk, all this junk over here. Let me get my handy anything. All this junk here is my belts not being even, and you're going to see some of that in a couple of other graphs. But this can all get corrected, but just by having the proper belt tension. And I was able eventually to get it to look like this over here, look like this. I got just by unscrewing the belts, putting them back in, and that took me a bit, a little frustrating, but it worked. X shaper. This right here, once again, this is my belts. being a little slightly uneven, I was able to get it to look like this. You can see that the shapes are about the same, accelerations are about the same. This is the 2.6 of ShakeTune. So it feeds this damping ratio back into the shapers, vibrations, and all this calculations for the shapers. That's why you see I have vibrations on MZV. I have a video on the new ShakeTune update. It's better, but it's going to make people mad because you're going to get vibrations on MZV. Y-axis, about the same. This, on both my things, this is my CAN bus cable. It is what it is. It's low, but that's causing that. The vibrations, I get 0.1 here. I'm getting more on here, my Y. That's generally due to my CAN bus cable being a little wider, this being not as peaky-ish, but they're about the same. They're giving me about the same results. And then we're at vibration. This is one area where it not necessarily as good as tap RA, and that's that's in this area here. So it did shift the vibrations down a bit, and it did shrink this area here a bit. Other than that, though, it gives me a little bit less room, but I'm usually doing my external perimeters or my internal perimeters here, and my externals are generally in the middle here. So my externals, this is external. So my externals did slow. I had to set them to 50, where before they were at probably I probably did around here. So let's say 65. So 65 here. Not a big deal, right? It's a little slower, but not a big deal. How well does it work? So I ran 3 tests. Oh, this should be number 3 here. I ran 3 tests. You can see the standard deviation is here. I believe this number here is millimeters. So these 3 here are micrometers. And these 3 here are nanometers. So this is 550 nanometer standard deviation. The median value, you look at the max, the average value, the range of values I get, which is also here. So we'll do this here to here. That's 2 micrometers with the standard deviation of 550 nanometers. This is 1.8 micrometers, standard deviation of 520. And then we scroll down, that's 1.7, standard deviation of 409. So this is 3 different runs. They were run back to each other, right? So I homed, Z-tilted, and then ran these in 50. These are 50 samples each of probe accuracy. We're looking pretty good. This is probably better than most of the taps I built. Maybe I'm not that great at building tap, but this is pretty good, right? This is 2 micrometers, 550 nanometer. Like these are really, really good taps. With the only drawback that I've seen is a slight reduction in where's this? There you go. Slight reduction in speed on what I use for my external perimeters. Now I could do this here and all that stuff. I could mess with this, increase my external perimeters to pass this, whatever. This is not bad at all. And so this is what I've been using on my test rig, and I like it. So right now, bear with me, but I'm going to show you how to build these things. I just got to make sure I have all my tools, and I do not. So I will be right back, and then we can start. All right, so I printed it out. It's going to have the self, what is it, the supports here. You're going to rip those off here and here. You may have to sand this one like this on this top one here, in order to get your bracket connected. Make sure it goes in there nice and smooth like that. And then on this side it'll look like this. You want the bigger, I have it backward. It's a good thing I said something. So you want the bigger hole, there's two holes, small and big. You want the bigger hole on the back side of the FlexTap. Okay? You're going to use M3 by 16s. So it wants you to use the FHCS, so the ones that are tapered, the tapered ones. I'm using button head screws. I found the button head screw works just as well, but the hole, as you can see, is made for the FHCS ones, the tapered ones. But you're just going to stick them in here like this. If I can, there we go. Stick it in like that. And then you stick both of these in. Now you have to remember, you find your right screwdriver, you have to remember that you're screwing into plastic. So you don't want to wrench these down, nor do you really need to. So there's that. And you can do the heat sets before or after you have put this whole thing together. It doesn't really matter. I've done it both ways. It doesn't change the outcome. So here's one heat set, two heat sets 3 and 4, and then on the back you have 1 and 2. This screw here sets your thing. So if you look at it, you're gonna imagine this is your tool head goes here. So your extruder's gonna, not your extruder, your hot end's gonna go here, and it's gonna push up, right, just on it. So if you look in the back, let's see how we do this. Oh, I can't hear. I gotta take my headphones off. So okay, so it's barely going. You can see it. Okay, so it's not it's clicking, but it's not self-releasing. So what we can do is we'll just tighten this guy in a bit. And then we can loosen this guy a bit. So this is going to be your adjustment. You're going to want to look here for this screw popping up here. You're going to want to look here. There you go. And as you tighten this, what you'll hear is you'll hear this thing click. So you'll go in. Let's see here. And then you're going to have to just listen. And this guy, this screw here, so you can use a M3 by 12 here or an M3 by 8. One or the other. You can use either one. And you're going to want these guys just to be touching that plastic. So you don't want it to push on it, and you want it so it's your stop. Okay, I put that in too far. Okay, so this is going to go up. When you push this in, this is going to go down. So you want this engaged, and you want to be able to hear it. Click, 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 click. And I'm going to see if you guys can see this. It's going to be such a small movement. That's it, right there. Right there. Like if I put where's my knife at? If I get my little X-Acto knife in here, or a hobby knife, stick it in. Right. That's it. I can put it in here, and I can trigger it. So you can adjust the trigger point here. You want to solder your wires to this one here, and this one here. These are where your wires are going to go. So, and it'll use the exact same tap settings in your clipper config as for this. So whatever tap you have, whatever your clipper config is, it's going to be the exact same for this. So you don't even touch your clipper config. You just build this, put it on, and that's it. And you can sit here and play with it in its little toy. So these two are going to control this is going to control how high up this kind of comes back together. It's going to stop it, keep this little gap, and this is going to control the trigger. That's it. And then your X end stop goes in here, screws right in with the M3, but it's in plastic, so just be careful. Like I already cracked it. I don't know if you guys can see this. I screwed it in too tight and I cracked it. I need to talk to him about potentially putting in a heat set here, because I think that's going to be a problem. See, it's like that. Maybe if they use like a little I mean, they have room. Maybe I think a heat set needs to go there to prevent this crack on the side. So that'd be my 2 cents, right? You know, I got it working, as you guys saw in the things. Yeah, right there's when I cracked it. Just a little bit more and crack. Yeah, you can see it opening up right there. I don't know if you can. It's opening up right there. So maybe a heat set. But yep, that's it, and this is it. These, I haven't had any problems with these. You know, I don't print. Let's see if we can get that. I don't print the best, but those have been fine. All the flexures have been fine. And this is the design. And so what you should do when you're screwing it in, you just pull down a bit, and you should hear that click. And the more accurate you can get that, the more, because there's about a 0.5 millimeter travel on that button right there for the switch. So you can get this screwed in so that's just the smallest of things. And that's basically the setup of this thing. It's really easy. 4 screws go right in to your X carriage. You have this back. So after you've got that all set up, you get the wires. You can put this back on, and this just kind of secures everything in place. You know, these aren't the best. I'm not that great at doing these build videos, but you know, we're learning together. It's all about learning. So there's that, and it just kind of holds it in. I don't know why there's a hole there. The wires come out the top, and that's it. You know, this can go on. You want the one with the lever, of course, but this goes on like that. Wires come through just like your regular tap, and this is it. And it seems to be working. So for the belts, big end goes in. You get your M3x40. Make sure it gets lost underneath your keyboard there, so you can't find it. That's critical. You gotta lose at least 1 screw. Once you get this in, you can take this off and make adjustments because it's on the bottom. My advice to be, if you start doing it, you start noticing you're not getting these belts right, this can actually go all the way in. There we go. Is, you know, you got 40 millimeters underneath, and you got to get this thing. So if you want to take this off, or take the belts off while it's on your printer, you know, without having to undo everything, drop your bed down to about 150 millimeters. Right. So you want the bottom of the tool head to the top of the bed to be about 150 millimeters, and that way you can get a wrench in there. And then you can get these screws out before you kill power. Before you're like, I need to fix it. Drop it 150. Make the correction. Take it off. You know. And this is it, man. This is. I'm just gonna put it like that, but this is it. And it. Surprisingly, I heat set there would be really nice, but surprisingly, it doesn't take much to build this thing, right? It doesn't take much filament to make it. It's pretty robust, and as you saw, you can get really great leveling out. Not leveling, but you get really good repeatability. I think you can almost get better than regular tap. At least for me, I've always had trouble getting the really small numbers on repeatability, but this guy just seems to do it right. I mean, And I'm going to say my slicer settings aren't dialed in for my V2, but it's still printed and it still works. So thanks for watching. Any questions, whatever, all the links and stuff is going to be in the description. If you got any questions on this or the residents, hit me up in Vor on Discord. It's under Reth. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.